Где каждый вздох, как скрип по стеклу. Вы к небу тянете слабеющие руки, развеяв верой тягостную мглу. Вы учите страдания, дар бесценный.
Yes, this is also another addition to our TeShuva music channel. It's in Russian. One of the amazing developments of our team, Baruch Hashem. Very talented and sweet team that we have. So we have Hebrew, Arabic, English, Russian, Romanian, all types of songs. Baruch Hashem.
Вы шепчете, растут за болью крылья. Страх лишь для тех, в ком нет кошел. В его законе истинный рассвет. Чему роптать на горести и беды? Вы дали нам на все один ответ. Дай повод Богу для твоей победы, чтоб он исправил груз минувших лет. Мусар для нас священное лекарство, что лечит духовный рак и тьму греха. Так через тернии в небесное мы царство идем, пока не вышел жизни срок.
Okay, everybody's online.
Вы даже учите, когда слабеют силы.
All right.
И кажется, надежды больше нет.
Baruch Hashem.
В нас верит Бог сильнее и правдивее, чем мы в Него за столько долгих лет. Пуста молитва и бесплодна вера, когда за ними не стоят дела. Но с вами мы находим исправление, чтоб делом вера к Богу.
Baruch Hashem. Nice to see you, Drew. Hi, Joshua. Welcome. We'll start in a minute.
Каждый шаг ваш Богом был храним. Ваш путь для нас пример чистосердечный. Мы рядом с вами, мы за вас стоим.
B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, Shiur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. We're back here on our Wednesday night Stump the Rabbi. We're after some Divrei Torah. You guys will ask some questions, and Be'ezrat Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. Tonight's shiur is going to be for the Refuah Shlema, for Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, Avi Mori David ben Esriah, Imi Morati Doris bat Jorah, and all of Am Yisrael and all the righteous Noahides. And Be'ezrat Hashem, our surgery next week is going to be a success. Yes, next week we have another surgery, Baruch Hashem, so there will not be a shiur on Wednesday. Be'ezrat Hashem will have the koach to do a shiur on Sunday, but after that we'll have to take a break for a little while, recover from the surgery, and Be'ezrat Hashem get back to learning and teaching Torah again. So with that being said, Rabotai, we have a lot of good stuff. Baruch Hashem. The Torah is afuchba v'afuchba dekula by everything that's in the Torah. You keep delving in and delving into it. Doesn't matter how many times you've learned the parasha, how many times you've learned the Gemara, how many times you've learned Shulchan Aruch. Each time you look at it, it's brand new. Each time there's new things that you find. And Baruch Hashem for that the Torah is wider than the ocean. So, Rabotai Ikarim, for those of you that have been following us over the years, you've watched our other shiurim about a Parashat Yitro, you've watched our shiurim about other parashot, you've watched our shiurim about, the many people that have done tshuva, many people that have converted as a result of watching our shiurim. We even have people that used to be anti-Semitic, self-proclaimed Nazis that have abandoned that destructive, disastrous ideology and have actually adopted the ideology of the Torah, and in one case even converted to Judaism, Baruch Hashem. So Baruch Hashem, there's a lot of good things that have happened with all of the shurim we've done over the last decade. But one of the things that I wanted to really talk to you about is not necessarily just the chizuk to do tshuva, but rather life after tshuva. Because doing tshuva or converting to Judaism is just one station, one stop in a lifelong journey. And many times people make that station into a destination, meaning they've done tshuva and they feel like, okay, I've done enough. I keep Shabbat, I learn a little bit, or I've learned in the past, I try to do my best, and that's it. The growth that they had before doing, serious tshuva and what they had in the early stages apparently gets into a plateau. And the same concept with conversion. People that, do everything they possibly can to finally reach the objective and the station of conversion. But you see many times that there are converts and there are converts, meaning that there are some converts where their growth doesn't stop with conversion, but rather it starts going even further after conversion. And then there are converts that are not necessarily so serious after conversion because they feel like now they just have to blend in and be like everybody else, worry more about the exterior than the interior, worry more about getting along rather than continuing to grow. And really, one of the things that is the common denominator in those two types of decisions is that while those that continue to grow, whether Baal Tshuva or convert, they continue to grow in Torah, and they deal with their difficulties in a very different way. They deal with their life in a very different way. And overall, you see a consistent happiness, a consistent ambition for more, a consistent growth in their appreciation and their love and their yirat shamayim. You see them continuously transforming themselves into a better version of themselves. Whereas the people that have a chip on their shoulder, feeling like they've done enough because they've already done tshuva, or because they've already converted, you see that they live a very bitter, miserable life. Why such a wide variance? Parashat Yitro usually has a main focus, which is the fact that we got the Torah. We have the 10 Commandments. This is one of two parashot in the Torah that talks about the 10 Commandments. One after another, you have this parasha and Parashat Vayetchanan. And that tends to be the focus that people look at. It's the climax of the entire world, the climax of the entire Torah. And needless to say, it's something that needs to be known. But the truth is that the verses that precede Matan Torah should really be every Baal Tshuva or convert's mantra, to the point where they engrave these lessons into their heart, because the conversation and just the general dialogue between Moshe and Yitro has so many lessons in there that if a person would understand it and apply it to their life, they could reach the stage of ANAVA. Whereas a person that ignores it, skips it, or just simply dismisses it as if it's not as important as other things, could literally go into a roller coaster type of life full of bitterness and misery. Why is this the case? We see that in the beginning of the parasha, we start off with the famous words, Vayishma Yitro. Yitro heard. What did he hear? He heard the extraordinary miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for Am Yisrael in Egypt. He heard about the splitting of the ocean, and more than anything else that impacted him, the war against Amalek. Because the argument of saying that there is a God that is protecting Am Yisrael couldn't be made because of the plagues. Why? Because even though Hashem destroyed the Egyptians, you could simply say that he destroyed the Egyptians because the Egyptians were idolaters and evil. But then when you see the splitting of the ocean, you could say the same exact thing, that perhaps HaKadosh Baruch Hu was not necessarily rewarding or protecting the Jews, but rather was destroying the evil Egyptians. But then when you see what Hashem did for us with the war of Amalek, Yitro said, this is it. This is the absolute proof that is not only one God, the most powerful God, but he's the God of Israel. And I will risk everything in order to join this nation. So Yitro, that was Kohen Midian, that was a famous pope, wealthy, powerful, abandons everything, humbles himself, and goes to his son-in-law. As the sages tell us that Tzipporah, the wife of Moshe, sent messengers to Moshe to see what's happening in Egypt. And Moshe told her, Hashem has destroyed Egypt, and we are going to Mount Sinai. Meet us up there. And that's what happened. Yitro came along. Now, for Yitro to do this, he not only has to believe that there's one God, the God of Israel, but he has to also believe that his whole life has been one big lie. Meaning he has to humble himself, which in Hebrew, humility is ANAVA. He has to elevate himself to such a high level of ANAVA that he literally sanctifies himself in the process. But this is not an easy process, because it's not just one time that he has to do it. He not only has to leave Midian, leave his powerful position, but he now has to come to Moshe Rabbeinu, in so many words, pleading on his knees, please accept me. And it says, Yitro took with him the sons of Moshe and his wife. And then he says, when he gets to outside of the camp, he couldn't enter because we had the clouds of glory that were protecting Am Yisrael. No one could enter. The way that Amalek, for example, was able to attack Am Yisrael is they went to Egypt, looked through their files, saw the different names, and then came to the camp, came to where Am Yisrael was in a desert, and started calling out outside of the clouds of glory the Jewish names they saw. Saying, hey, Shimon, it's your friend. Help me out, get me in here. And Shimon would come out, and then they would kill Shimon, cut off his brit, and throw it in the air as an insult to the God of Israel. But Yitro didn't do the evil things that Amalek did. Amalek used their knowledge of everything that transpired in Egypt, all the miracles that Hashem did. They used it as a pretext to hate Am Yisrael even more. Similar to the anti-Semites of today. They use anything they possibly can grab a hold to as an excuse to hate the Jews. They'll hate the Jews because we won the recent war. Oh, you're persecuting, you are too vicious. Well, it's war. What do you want us to do? Shoot them with water guns? Maybe make sure that the water is not too hot so they don't get burned with the water too. Perhaps we should give them towels after we shoot them with the water. Or they use the excuse of the wealth of different Jews in the world. Oh, you control the whole world, you control the banking, you control the law, you have somebody speaking to the president of this country and that country. Well, what do you want us to do? Hide? If you were able to become a powerful person, you wouldn't do it just because of your religion? No, you would do the same thing. So what difference is it that the person is Jewish, that they're also successful? Why is it when a non-Jew becomes successful, no one hates them because of their religion? They may hate them for their political beliefs, they may hate them because of certain decisions they made, but no one ever mentions their religion. No one ever says, I hate the Christian or the Catholic or the, the Hindu businessman that do ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. No one ever says that. But when it comes to Jewish people that are successful, everyone knows the industries they're successful in, whether it be technology or Hollywood or law or whatever it is, but it's always Jew first, then the industry, then the thing. Why? Because it's simply an excuse to hate Jews. It has nothing to do with anything that actually makes sense. It has nothing to do with any facts. Amalek does this today just like he did it at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. On the other hand, there are righteous Gentiles that see the truth, see the one God of Israel, the only God, where everything else is fake, whether it be the other false religions that are out there or it's other ideologies. Everything else is fake. The only thing that's true is the word of the Torah. And those that follow it, which is the Orthodox Jews. Now, of course, somebody says, well, what makes you right? God. God makes me right. He said it. You have a problem. You have a problem with God, not with me. God didn't say that he's splitting the belief systems and the truth among several. There's one truth, there's one God, there's one Torah. That Torah applies to the Jews to fulfill certain mitzvot and applies to the non-Jews to fulfill certain mitzvot that are relevant to them. And some people that were born non-Jews, just like Yitro, that were even powerful in a non-Jewish world. They discovered Judaism, they discovered the words of the Torah, and they humble themselves, realizing they've lived a lie, and they do everything they possibly can to connect and cleave to Hashem. In some cases, they convert to Judaism. In other cases, they become righteous Noahites. But needless to say, you see that those people that work on themselves and acquire ANAVA, acquire humility, realizing they've lived a lie, realizing they've made a mistake, realized they've gone against Hashem until they discovered the truth, realize they're still making mistakes, but trying to do tshuva. You see them committed to Hashem for the rest of their lives in an unbelievable way, in an admirable way. I've seen some Baalei Tshuva that literally transformed their life in such ways that literally you just admire these people. Wow, they cry in almost every prayer. They learn hours upon hours of Torah each and every single day, even though they work and they have a business. You see their character traits change. They become softer. They become more generous. They become more kind. They simply become a better person. Literally, their physical features, especially the face, soften. You see these people, it's like, wow. And guess what? You also see it with righteous Noahites. You see that they're constantly changing. They're constantly improving. They're much more worried about what they say, much more concerned about what kind of business they do. I get questions every single day from countless people. Some Jews, some non-Jews. And just yesterday I got a question from one of my students that's a righteous Noahide. Him and his wife are working on themselves every day. And they just decided to start a business, and they're asking me how they could conduct this new business in the most kosher way, so they're not falling into the trap of money, but at the same time forsaking God. And again, these are Noahides. These are not Orthodox Jews, but they're worried about how they conduct business. Why? ANAVA. We see that Yitro does not consider himself anything. His past success is now viewed in his eyes as his past failure, massive failure. The recognition that everyone had of him, he prays for it to be forgotten. ויקח יתרו חותן משה את ציפורה אשת משה אחר שלוחיה ואת שני בניה אשר שם האחד גרשום כי אמר גר הייתי בארץ נוכריה ושם האחד אליעזר כי אלוהי אבי בעזרי והצילני מחרב פרעה. Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, took Tzipora, the wife of Moshe, after she had been sent away, because initially she came to Egypt with Moshe, but as soon as they got there, Aaron HaKohen, Moshe's older brother, told him, listen, there's enough Jews already suffering here. Why bring more to suffer? Send your wife away. So Tzipora went back to her father's house with the kids. But now, she's back with the kids and her father, and he brings the two sons of Moshe, and he says, these sons of Moshe is Gershom and Eliezer. And then it says, Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, came to Moshe with his sons and wife. Again, it repeats the same thing. To the wilderness, where he was encamped by the mountain of God. And he said to Moshe, I, your father-in-law, Yitro, have come to you with your wife and her two sons with her. Why is the repeated words, repeated speech here? We've already heard that Yitro came. We heard that he came with Moshe's wife and kids. The Torah doesn't waste words. Here it's to tell us another level of ANAVA that Yitro had to reach, Yitro had to attain in order to be accepted into the camp of Israel, into the nation of Israel, where he says to the messengers of Moshe, please tell Moshe that it's me, Yitro, his father-in-law, but surely now that he's the prophet of all prophets, the man of God, he probably does not want to talk to somebody like me, especially that I was an idol worshiper, the leader of the idol worshippers. So if he would please consider the fact that I brought his wife with him. And I also brought his kids. Meaning Yitro is not coming with some type of mentality, hey, listen, I used to be a billionaire, I used to be popular, I used to be this, I used to be that, you better pay me some respect. Absolutely not. Yitro completely removes the chip off of his shoulder. But there's another lesson. There's another very valuable lesson that we see here, that also teaches us about Moshe. Something that is of profound importance for people that are Baalei Tshuva and people that convert to Judaism or want to convert. It says that Moshe named his sons Gershom and Eliezer. And everyone knows that there's a reason behind these names. Gershom, because he was a stranger in the land. He was a stranger in the land of Egypt. He was a stranger in the land of Midian. He's a stranger in this world. Because tzaddikim know that this world is temporary. And Eliezer, because God of my father came to my aid. And he saved me from the sword of Paro when Paro tried to kill Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem made a miracle and turned Moshe's neck to be as hard as stone. And the sword broke. And Moshe was able to escape. As Hashem froze Paro and his people to give Moshe Rabbeinu enough time to escape. Now, we can understand why Moshe named his sons this. For his own personal reasons. But why do we need to learn it? Obviously, it's in the Torah, not because this was very sentimental and cute and sweet for Moshe Rabbeinu. Rather, just like the Gemara in Masechet Megillah says that everything that's written in the Tanakh, which obviously is the 5 books of Moses, then you have the prophets and the writings, everything that's written is relevant to every single person in every single generation until the end of the world. So, what can we learn from the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu called his sons Gershom and Eliezer? Does that mean that we have to name our sons Gershom and Eliezer? No. That's not the lesson. What is the lesson? Torah is teaching us that no matter how high and holy Moshe Rabbeinu got to, no matter how important and wealthy he became, Moshe Rabbeinu never forgot where he came from. And in fact, he made sure everybody knew where he came from. Because anybody that knew Moshe Rabbeinu's kids also knew the reason why he called him Gershon. You know why I called Gershon? Because I used to live in Egypt. I grew up in the house of Paro. I didn't grow up with Kedusha, with Yeshiva, with Talmidei Chachamim. I grew up with idol worshippers. And I still elevated myself to become the prophet of Hashem. You know my son Eliezer? You know why I called him Eliezer? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only reason why I'm still alive. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only reason why I'm anything. It's not to my credit. It's not my ability. It's not my talents. It's only Hashem. When a person does tshuva, and then all of a sudden, they want to blend in to such an extent that they don't want people to know they've done tshuva. They want to come into the community, start looking like everybody else, start acting like everybody else, changing even their own personality to the point of extreme, and they become a different person. They now have 2 lives. They have the real version of themselves that they're hiding, and then the fake version that they show everybody else. Why? They want to fit in. And they don't want to talk about the fact that they've done tshuva. Person converts, all of a sudden you see him start wearing all types of shtreimel and Hasidish clothes. Habibi, you didn't come from Poland. You didn't come from Ukraine. You didn't come from Russia. You came from New York City. From the Bronx. You came from Atlanta. You came from Tennessee. Why are you adopting all types of things that have nothing to do with you? Do you know why? They want to fit in. They want everyone to think, no, I'm not really a convert. I was always like this. I was born like this. And this is not only an embarrassment to the extraordinary mitzvot that they have done, doing tshuva or converting, a disgrace, but it's also a mistake. To convert to Judaism, to do tshuva, puts you in the highest level of pedestals. The Gemara in Masechet Brachot says, a person that has done tshuva is even higher than someone that didn't need to do tshuva because they were born into a righteous family and they stayed righteous themselves. Why do you need to pretend you never did tshuva? A person that converts to Judaism and is a righteous convert, the Rambam paskins la'alacha, we are obligated to love him or her even more than natural born Jews. Why are you pretending you're not a convert? Don't you realize the value? Don't you realize the value? They don't. And the reason for that, Rabotai, is because instead of having ANAVA, like was required in order to do tshuva, in order to convert, they left ANAVA at that station. And now it's all ego. Now it's a chip on the shoulder where they want to be like everybody else. Now they want to pretend like they've always been. They've always been Jewish. They've always been religious. And this is the opposite of ANAVA. This comes from ego. This comes from a corrupted place. Moshe Rabbeinu was proud of the fact that he himself had to do tshuva. He himself had to change. He himself had to fight all of the bad character traits that he was born with. He was so proud of it to the point that he constantly had a reminder, not only for himself, but for everybody else that knew him, which is everyone. Everyone knew where he came from. He was proud of his past. He didn't have to pretend. You have people literally pretending to such a point that they're lying not only to other people, they're lying to themselves. They pretend, they make up stories of who they were. There's one guy that literally made up a whole story that he was born in Spain and he was only around holy books his whole life, and then eventually his family came to Israel and he all of a sudden knew everything. Habibi, you grew up in Israel, you were secular until you were a teenager. You went to public school in Israel. You did tshuva, you used to wear a little casquette, little hat. Stop it with the fake stories. You didn't grow up not in Spain, not in Alain. Why you have to make up stories? Why? So now you're more special because you grew up in this so holy? It's holier if you did tshuva. It's holier if you tell the truth. Holiness is the truth. Holiness is emet. Holiness is the fact that you overcame the obstacles and succeeded. That's holiness. Not that you were always this perfect korban. The fact that you've done tshuva, that's what makes you holy. The fact that you've succeeded in converting, that's what makes you holy. If you think that being born into a perfect family with perfect education and perfect everything, that makes you holy, you're mistaken, because it's not true. It's not your story. You're not the Gaon Mivilna that knew the entire Torah already by the time he was 8 years old. Stop pretending you are. You're not Yitzchak Avinu, the perfect korban. You're not. But guess what? Neither was Yitro. Neither was Yitro, and yet the parasha that we received the Torah is named after Yitro. Why? Because that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. One of the amazing things that you see about Gdolei Israel is that the bigger they are in Torah, the more humble they are. There was a woman that every day she would wait for Rav Ovadia Yosef near the door to his Beit Knesset, and as the Rav would pass by, she would ask him, Kvod Rav, what time is it? And the Rav would look, it's 9 o'clock. The next day, Kvod Rav, what time is it? It's 9:03. The next day, Kvod Rav, what time is it? It's 8:59. I mean, lady, can't you get a watch? Can't you ask somebody else? You ask the Gdol Ador, the Rishon LeZion. You ask him what time it is, out of all the questions in the world. Yes. Why? They asked her, why do you ask for the Rav for a time? She says, I only believe Rav Ovadia. I don't believe anybody else. Meaning she showed her humility, her commitment to Da'at Torah to the point where she says, nothing else is true for me. I know Da'at Torah. I know that Rav Ovadia tells the truth. Now, on the other hand, Rav Ovadia could have easily said, listen, lady, can you ask somebody else? What time is it? Can you look at the clock on the wall? No. He answered her every single day for years. For decades. He would answer this woman every single day. What time is it? What time is it? The same similar story was discovered a week after Rav Moshe Feinstein passed away. A woman called the house on Friday. She says, hello? Yes, can I speak to Rav Moshe Feinstein? Oh, no, we're sorry, ma'am. The Rav passed away. Oi, how I'm going to know now? What? This was an unusual response. How are you going to know what? How I'm going to know when Shabbat starts? What? Well, for the last 40 years, every Friday, I call the rabbi and I ask him, what time do I need to light the candles? And every week he tells me. Now, the rabbi could have easily told her, lady, it's in the paper. Every week the paper has a little section. Even in those days, the New York Times had a little section on the bottom left where somebody paid for decades to have what time does Shabbat start, and it also said Jewish women should light Shabbat candles at this time. For decades. To such a point that they did some type of estimation of things that they expect to happen. They had an issue in the New York Times, and this is maybe about 20 years ago. They said, where do we think the world is going to be in 100 years? And they wrote different things that they think is going to happen. Now, some of the things were the usual things about, futuristic technology and so on. But one thing caught everybody by surprise. And Jewish women will have to light candles on Friday night. So when they asked the liberal New York Times, why did you include this in your future? They said, listen, for several decades, I think it was something like 40 or 60 years, someone paid money to have an advertisement space in the New York Times to tell Jewish women to light Shabbat candles. This was not a new thing. This is something that has been going on for thousands of years, well before the New York Times was even a thought. So if they've been able to do that, to remind Jewish women to light Shabbat candles every Friday for all those thousands of years, what do you think? It's going to stop in 100 years from now? Surely it's going to be the same in 100 years from now. That's the one thing we know for sure. Everything else, we're estimating. The one certainty, Jewish women will have to light Shabbat candles. And the Jewish woman that called Rav Moshe Feinstein's house, she relied on the Rav to tell her what time Shabbat comes in. The Rav could have easily told her, look at the paper. But no. From his perspective, what's the big deal? The greater the Torah scholar, the greater their humility. And we see that Yitro humbled himself. Moshe Rabbeinu humbled himself. And they became vessels of Torah. They became vessels to publicize HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name. In fact, later on, when it's time to get the Torah, in chapter 18, we have heard about Yitro. We got to see how Yitro came up with an idea that Hashem put into his mind of the court system that is used in the world until this day, different levels of court. That's used in the Torah, it's used in the court system of the world. But then after that, we see how HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses Moshe Rabbeinu not only to deliver the truth to Am Yisrael, but to also teach us how to teach Am Yisrael, how to get to those neshamot that are yearning for the truth, that are dismissing their ego and are trying to little by little humble themselves, trying little by little to acquire this thing called ANAVA. Because without ANAVA, you cannot become a vessel of Torah. Without ANAVA, you cannot truly connect to Hashem. So Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, now it's the time. In verse number 3, it says, Moshe ascended to God, and Hashem called to him from the mountain, saying, so shall you say to the house of Yaakov, and relate to the children of Israel. In Hebrew, it's Ko tomar lebet Yaakov, v'taged lebnei Israel. It seems like it's repeating the same thing. Say something to the house of Yaakov, which is referring to Am Yisrael, and relate something to the children of Israel. All in the same verse. Why? Chazal teaches us Bet Yaakov is referring to the women, the Jewish women, and Bnei Israel is referring to the Jewish men. So how come it uses different words to speak to both of them? Tomar to the women, v'tagid to the men. Why not say tomar to both of them or tagid to both of them? It's, in essence, all it is speak to them. Why use those specific words? Chazal teaches us, Moshe, you have to speak to each one of them differently. To the women that are building the Jewish homes, that have to influence their husbands and children to learn Torah, to do mitzvot, to get closer to Hashem. You have to speak to them softly in order to encourage them. Because that is what is going to motivate them. Emotions. Emotions are going to motivate them and inspire them to be an eshet chayil. But to the men, tagid lahem, to the men, if you want to get to them, you have to speak sternly. You have to speak strong. You have to scare them. Tell them if they don't do it, they'll get punished. If they don't do it, they'll lose money. If they don't do it, problems are ahead. Why? Because that's how I created the women and how I created the men. This one has sensors of emotion. This one has sensors of fear. Interestingly enough, since we are all reincarnations, sometimes the fear part works for both. And in fact, more often than not, the fear part works for both. But needless to say, the Torah is teaching us in the name of Hashem that if you want to get this woman to humble herself, if you want this man to humble himself, you have to know how to speak to them. If you only compliment them, if you only speak to them with nice stories, it won't work for the men. If you're constantly scary, it won't work for the women. You have to know which way to communicate to my children. Now, after this, we received the Torah, received the 10 Commandments, and the Torah tells us that this event itself was very scary, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu intentionally scared all of Am Yisrael, where it says, V'yitzvu b'tachtit ha'ar. In chapter 19, verse number 17, it says that Am Yisrael stood at the bottom of the mountain. The Gemara in Masechet Shabbat says that Am Yisrael was literally under the mountain because HaKadosh Baruch Hu lifted Mount Sinai in the air and said to them, if you accept the Torah, the mountain is symbolic of our wedding, like a chuppah. If you say no, you don't want the Torah, I'm dropping the mountain on you and all of you are going to be buried over here. So the Gemara asks, what kind of wedding is this? You're putting a gun to their head? You're threatening them that either they accept it or they die? And the Gemara says, yes. What do you think? We have an irresponsible God that is just going to give people the ability to destroy the entire world by making the wrong decision? Because at the time of creation, the Gemara says that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, each day was given a name, each day was given certain creations that were made. But when he got to Friday, instead of saying it was night, it was day, first day, it was night, it was day, second day, on Friday it says it was night, it was day, it was the sixth day, Yom HaShishi. There's an extra hay there. And the Gemara says that extra hay is numerical value 5. And that extra hay is the signature that HaKadosh Baruch Hu signed off in essence, the deal with the creation, with the heaven and the earth, that if Am Yisrael accepts the 5 books of Moses, the world continues and we'll see Shabbat. If not, the world will be destroyed. So at Mount Sinai, it wasn't just Am Yisrael shaking with fear under the mountain. All of creation, the angels, the demons, the heaven, the earth, the animals, everyone was shaking. What if they say no? And therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm going to give you an ultimatum. You accept it, good. This is our wedding. You don't? Then this is not only going to destroy the entire world, it'll destroy you first. Now the 10 Commandments, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us, V'shamartem et briti, that you observe my covenant, my brit. That's the Torah. Right before, he tells us the details of the 10 Commandments. As everyone knows, the brit, we have the Brit Milah. The Brit Milah, the circumcision, is not just the mitzvah of circumcising your son on his 8th day, but it's also observing the Brit. Now, many times, people that do not learn the topic of Brit, of Kedusha, of the prohibition of wasting seed, they not only fall for the trap of the Satan and end up wasting seed themselves and doing all types of horrible things, but many times they try to rationalize and justify themselves because they heard some other ignorant person tell them that, listen, it's not in the Torah. Hashem doesn't say protect your Brit literally in the Torah. Well, technically he does. But as we have shown in our film called Tikkun HaBrit, with 116 different sources, that's only a fraction of all the sources that are available, that protecting your Brit is not only good for you, it's a Torah obligation. Somebody made a lecture, somebody asked him about protecting the Brit, and he mentioned different sources, but he made the mistake of making people believe that, yes, you need to protect your Brit, but do it later on when you get married, when it becomes easier for you, because there are opinions that it's not an obligation. And he said it's not in the Shulchan Aruch. That's a mistake. It is an halacha by the Rambam, and it is an halacha in the Shulchan Aruch. And it is an halacha in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. It's not just in the Zohar, in the Kabbalah. It's in every Jewish book that discusses Kedusha throughout all of history. The Gemara mentions it in countless places. The Zohar mentions it in countless places. The Mishnah, the Poskim, everywhere. Now, since most people think that there's only one way to describe this, we'll use this 10 Commandments as a clear example of not only that the mitzvah of protecting your Brit and not wasting seed is from the Torah, but how you need to know how to learn in order to learn. So of course everyone knows that the mitzvah, the first commandment is that I am Hashem your God, who has taken you out of Egypt. Then you have, you shall not recognize other gods. Then you have, you shall not take the name of Hashem your God in vain. These are the first 3 commandments. Then you have the Shabbat. Observing Shabbat is the 4th commandment. Then honoring your parents. Then you have don't murder. And then you have number 7, lo tin'af, which most translations translate as don't commit adultery. Now, even though don't commit adultery is under this also, that's not the only thing that it means. How do we know for sure? 2 simple reasons. Number 1, if you look at the last commandment, it says, Lo tachmot bet recha, lo tachmot eshet recha. You shall not covet your fellow's house. You shall not covet your fellow's wife. Obviously, don't commit adultery. Why mention don't commit adultery twice? Because lo tinaf doesn't just mean don't commit adultery. It actually means don't commit any act of immorality. The Gemara confirms this. In Masechet Nida, page 13b, Rabbi Elazar says, what is the meaning of that which is written in the prophet Isaiah chapter 1 verse 15, your hands are filled with blood. It means these are the ones who performed promiscuous acts with the hand and wasted seed. Then comes Rabbi Ishmael and says, you know, this is in the Torah. It's not just in the prophets. Don't think it's just an asmachta in the prophets. It's in the Torah. Where is it in the Torah? The 10 Commandments. In the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 13, the 10 Commandments says, Lo tinaf. Says, you shall not be promiscuous. Now you shall not commit adultery. You should not commit immorality. And this, says Rabbi Ishmael, is to teach you that there is immorality with others, there's also immorality with hand and with foot. In fact, the same Gemara Masechet Nida says that in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, whoever wastes seed is liable for a death penalty in the hands of heaven. As the Torah tells us in many places about the different sins of people, but we already see even before Matan Torah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu killed Ve'onan. Because it says in Genesis, and what he did was evil in the eyes of Hashem, and Hashem caused him to die also. Furthermore, Rabbi Yitzchak and Rabbi Ami says, someone who wastes seed is considered as if he spilled blood, meaning as if he's a murderer. Rabbi Yassi says, someone who wastes seed is considered as if he's serving an idol. What does one thing have to do with the other? One of the ways of idolatry was actually either in blood or with seed. Rabbi Eliezer says, it's as if he's bringing the flood upon the world. Why the flood? Just like the flood of Noach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu destroyed many people. Someone who wastes seed is destroying many, many different potential souls that were supposed to come to the world, and now those souls will want to take revenge against them. This is why until this day it's a custom in Yerushalayim that the children do not bring their father that passed away into burial. Because those, if the father wasted seed, the wicked souls that he created will take revenge against his children specifically on that day. And specifically if they're in a cemetery. So we see, Rabotai, the Gemara is telling us multiple sources of where this is in the Torah, multiple statements of warning, and unlike what some people think that these are guzma, these are exaggerations just to scare you, there's no exaggerations. This is simply to tell you, you have to take this seriously. Why? It's not just a recommendation. It's an obligation. It's an obligation. And right after teaching us about how wasting seed is from the 10 Commandments, the Gemara, interestingly enough, also teaches us two other relevant lessons. One, for those that think, like we answered in the past, the anti-Semites that think that Jews marry 3-year-old girls, Gemara Masechet Nida, page 13b, specifically says, someone who does things with children not only gets punished, but they are the reason why the Mashiach is not coming. Meaning, this is not just a punishment on them, this is a punishment for all of Am Yisrael if there's such a thing. Furthermore, the Gemara says, do you know that sometimes converts delay the Mashiach? Why converts? Says, if the convert is one of those that's like a sapachat, that's like a skin disease to Am Yisrael, meaning he's not a righteous convert. He's one of those converts that has a chip on his shoulder, thinks that everybody owes him something, thinks that they know better than the rest of Am Yisrael because they read a few books. They come to tell everybody what to do and how to do it without going through the tradition and how things work. Those types of converts, they're not only a skin disease to Am Yisrael, they are delaying the Mashiach. So much so, Rabotai, that Rabbi Tarfon says it's better for him that his belly is split open and he does not come to the world and enter the pit of destruction, meaning go straight to Gehenom, than to him waste seed one time. Now, these are just a microcosm of all of the different teachings that the sages say. The Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, page 17a, talks about how those that sin with their body go to Gehenom and don't come out if they don't do tshuva. But what about those that they're not doing it themselves, but rather it's happening at night when they're sleeping? Then the Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah, page 20b, says the answer. The Rabbi is taught in the Berita that the verse in Deuteronomy chapter 23 verse 10 says, you shall beware of any evil thing, in order to teach you that a person should not think immoral thoughts by the day and thereby end up coming to Tumah at night. What Tumah at night? Wasting seed. Zera levatala. Meaning that if a person does not protect their eyes during the day, they watch movies, shows, all types of immodest things, and they end up having one of these dreams that ends up leading to wasting seed, then guess what? It is considered as if you did it intentionally. Why? Because you looked at things that are immodest intentionally, which brought you to evil at night, to Tumah at night. But if a person did not look at anything that's immodest for a very long time, not just for that day, because if you saw it yesterday and it affected you today or even affected you next week, it's still your fault. But if a person has been protecting their eyes already for 6 months, for a year, and still something happened as a result of him eating something, or spicy food, or too much food, or all types of different reasons of why these things happen, then it's not considered as if you brought it on yourself. Now, what does all of this have to do with the lessons of Moshe Rabbeinu and Yitro, of ANAVA? The reason why people fall into the trap of immorality is because of big ego. I want what I want when I want it. Even though God said otherwise, even though it's not mine, even though I shouldn't, People want what they want when they want. They want to rule the world. They want to rule their life. They don't want to listen to anyone that tells them otherwise. The reason why certain people that speak about this topic speak about it in the wrong way, they tell you, they minimize it, they make it seem as if it's not a big deal, they make it seem as if it's not relevant to this generation. One of the reasons is because of ego. They have a big ego. They want everyone to like them. They want everyone to favor them. So they don't want to tell people things that are going to scare them or make them feel like there's work to be done. They want to make people feel good. But that's not the job. The job is to teach Am Yisrael the Torah. And the Torah is for each and every Jew to fulfill. It's in your mouth, it's in your heart to fulfill it. The Torah is for the entire world to fulfill, each according to their obligations. But when somebody has too much ego and no ANAVA, they freely change the Torah. They change it to whatever is more popular. They change it to whatever they like. Whatever is going to get them more views, more money, more popularity. Yitro knew that he had to humble himself in order to have a good life. Moshe knew that he had to humble himself in order to have a good life, in order to become a vessel of Torah, in order to become connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. These lessons are as relevant today as they were back then. Because as I said before, when a person is proud of the fact that they've done tshuva, proud of the fact that they've converted, proud of the fact that they are working hard on themselves to serve Hashem better, by protecting their eyes, by protecting their brit, by observing Shabbat, learning Torah, doing all the things that are necessary to constantly get yourself closer. And even when you fail, you get up and you try again, you try again, you try again, without giving up, without letting Amalek cool you off. That person continues to have a better and better life. Whereas the people with the big ego, they have a miserable life. Why? Because the bigger the ego, the more unsatisfied they are with what they have, because they always want more, because they think that they're entitled to everything. They think they're entitled to more money, they think they're entitled to more honor, they think they're entitled to more stuff, more, and nothing's ever enough. And that's why wasting seed, immorality, all of the cheating in business, all of the sins of the Torah can easily be committed by such people, even if they wear a kippah. That's why divorce is much more likely in their life, because nothing's ever enough. Their wife is never pretty enough, the husband is never rich enough, and so on. What does a picture look like for someone that has humbled themselves, that has gotten to the point of understanding what Hashem wants? There was once a tzaddik who got married, and he had a good wife. And he would go to work every day, and after work, study as much Torah as he possibly could. One day, his wife got sick. And she had this unusual disease that made all types of bumps and ugly things appear in her body. And shortly after, her husband said, "Something happened to me at work. I lost my vision. I had an accident. I need your help." The wife disregarded her illness and started adjusting for this new life that she now has a blind husband. And he asks her, "Honey, can you please get Shimon from the Beit Knesset and ask him if he's willing to study with me every day when I get back from work?" She said, "Yeah, sure." She goes to the Beit Knesset. She tells Shimon what happened. She says, of course, I'll study with him every day. And every day, his husband manages to do whatever he could, being blind at work. Somebody takes him home. He gets home. And then Shimon comes and they start learning. Now, over those 20 years, the wife's illness got worse and worse. And the bumps and the scars and the deformity in her body got worse and worse. But her husband always told her, oh, I miss seeing you. I love you. You're so beautiful. And she knew he can't see her, so he doesn't really know what she looks like. She doesn't know that she's not even half the woman that she used to be 20 years ago. But she loved hearing her husband give her compliments, even though she felt the worst she ever felt. Every day, there was a new scar, a new infection, really, really hideous things. And she became extremely ugly, to the point where anytime she had to go outside, she would cover her face. But as soon as she got home, she would hear the sweet voice of her husband. Oh, my dear, beautiful wife, I missed you so much. Oh, I wish I can see you right now. You're so beautiful. I remember, and you looked like this, and you're so wonderful. And you know, when I'm learning Torah with Shimon, it's just the beauty of Torah, and I'm thinking that you're here, and I have all beauty around me. It's better than when I used to see. And the wife smiles, even though she wants to cry because she doesn't look anything like what her husband thinks. And this, Rabotai Karim, goes on for over 20 years. One day, the wife's sickness gets to a point where she has to return her body to heaven. She passes away. The husband buries his wife, and after the Shiva, he waits for Shimon to come to his house so they can learn Torah again. Shimon comes to the house and he starts reading, but after a few minutes, Reuven starts reading. Shimon, surprised, he goes, whoa, what happened? How can you, you know the whole Gemara by heart? He goes, no. Well, then how do you know what to say? He says, I'm reading it. He says, what do you mean you're reading it? He says, I'm reading the words. And then Shimon says, wait, you're telling me that you haven't been blind? And he says, no. I was never blind. I never had an accident. But I knew that my wife felt terrible about herself and how she started looking terrible. And I didn't want her to become self-conscious, to have any more sorrow. And I wanted to make sure that she realizes that in my eyes, she's still beautiful. And that's why I pretended to be blind for over 20 years, walking around with a stick, somebody taking me to work and to back home, having you learn with me and read only, and I could never read by myself. So she does not have any sorrow, and she always feels beautiful, because in my eyes, she was always beautiful. Rabotai Karim, when a person humbles themselves, cleaves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it becomes not only much easier to protect your brit, but it also becomes much easier to see how beautiful your wife is, your kids are, your life is, including the difficulties, including the obstacles, because you know that all of it was given to you by the perfect hand of Hashem that loves you dearly and wants the best for you, as long as you want the best thing for yourself, which is following the Torah. This, Rabotai, is some of the things that we learned and how we could all apply it to our life. Now we're going to answer the question that we asked last week and then ask you another question. But like I said, I won't be here for at least another week or two because we have the surgery, Bezat Hashem. But you guys could still send the answers, think about them. Now the question last week was a few kids inherited their father's estate. He passed away. And when they got to the house, they saw that he has all types of things. And in the backyard, there was a cow. So after the Shiva, they decided, let's slaughter the cow and eat it. But a day later, somebody comes and he says, hey, where's the cow? He says, what are you talking, what cow? He says, I lent your father a cow. He says, oh, no, we ate it. He's like, all right, you ate it. I mean, you have to pay me for it. He said, yeah, but we didn't know it's yours. We thought it's our father's. And he says, no, it's definitely mine. And he shows him documentation that it's definitely his. Meaning he's not cheating them. It really is his cow. But they didn't know it's his cow. So they go to the Bet Din. They say to the Bet Din, listen, had we known it's not our father's cow, we wouldn't have eaten it. So we shouldn't pay. It's a mistake. It's an accident. The guy that owns the cow says to them, listen, accident, no accident. I gave you a cow. I gave your father a cow. You guys ate it. You have to pay me. Cow's $25,000. Give me $25,000. What is the Bet Din Paskin? The Gemara in Masechet Ketubot, page 34b, says that even though it's true that had they known that it's not their father's cow, they wouldn't have eaten it, still, they need to eat. Everybody eats. On the other hand, there's a mistake here. So how do we rectify it? If someone were to tell them that they can buy a cow, they can buy meat for 34% off, 35% discount, certainly they need to eat and they would buy it for a discount. And therefore, that's what you give them. Because had they known that this is a discount, they would eat it, even if it's somebody else's cow. So that's what they need to pay the owner of the cow. They need to pay him 2/3 of the actual value of the cow. The discount is not necessarily because of the mistake only, but rather because it's the one thing that for sure they would have done anyway, even if it wasn't this particular cow. They would need to eat and they would certainly buy it for a discount. So they have to pay him 66% or 2/3 of the value of the cow. That's the psak in the Gemara. Now, as far as a question, there's a few different things that I know you guys like. You like the things of mekach ta'ut, where it's if somebody makes a mistake. But I like to give you guys things that are relevant and that could happen in your life. So, this is actually something that happened. One time, Reuven and Shimon are walking down the street together, and Reuven wants to buy his wife a gift. It's a Rosh Chodesh, or it's her birthday, whatever reason he wants to buy his wife a gift. He says to Shimon, you want to come with me for a second to the jewelry store? I want to get my wife something. Sure, let's go in. He sees something that he likes. He's like, okay, I want to buy this. He tells him, okay, it's $1,000. All right, sure. He reaches out for his wallet, and he realizes that he forgot his wallet. He doesn't have his wallet on. He tells his friend Shimon, can you do me a favor? can you pay for this and I'll pay you back in a couple of days? Shimon says, yeah, no problem. Shimon takes out his credit card and pays $1,000 to the jewelry store. They leave. He gives the gift to his wife. A few days later, they meet up again. And Shimon says to Reuven, listen, just if you don't mind, can you give me the $1,000, please? Reuven starts laughing. He goes, what? You haven't heard? He goes, heard what? You didn't hear what happened in the news? No. The company, the bank that you use had a major outage in their server system, and they said that all of the transactions that were done on that day have been erased from the data system. So they don't know who bought, who sold, nothing. So none of the people that bought anything on that day have to pay the credit card company. So since you don't have to pay the credit card company, then I don't need to pay you. He checked it out and he said, it's right. Yeah, the credit card company did not charge him $1,000. But he says to Reuven, listen, Reuven, I understand I don't have to pay the credit card company, but that's none of your business. You owe me $1,000. Reuven says, what, are you kidding me? Why do I owe you $1,000? You didn't pay for anything. He says, no, that's my benefit. Why should you benefit from my benefit? If you had your card, you would have the benefit, but I had the card. And they go to a bet din. Does Reuven have to pay back the $1,000? Or does he have to pay nothing? Or perhaps he has to pay less? What does he have to do? Is Shimon right that he still owes him $1,000, despite the fact that he doesn't have to pay a penny? Or is Reuven right that technically I don't have to pay you because you don't have to pay anything? You guys think about it. Send the answers in. And Bezat Hashem, the next time that we have a shiur, when we come back, Bezat Hashem, we will discuss it. Now, you guys can start asking some questions, and Bezat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. Who is Hashem? Hashem is God. But Hashem literally means the name in Hebrew. Why do we say the name instead of saying his real name? Because the third commandment says, the third commandment out of the 10 commandments says, do not take Hashem's name in vain. Do not say his name in vain. Meaning that his name is so holy, we cannot say it. So, if any time we're referring to Hashem, to the Creator, instead of saying his name, we say the name. Because his name is too holy to be said. Even when we say in our prayer, or when we read in the Torah, the verses that actually say his name, we don't read them the way that they're actually written. We read them with our master. We see, instead of pronouncing the Yud, K, Vav, K, we pronounce it as if it's written Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud, which is spells, it translates to my master. Why? Because the name of Hashem is too holy to be said, so much so that the Gemara in Masechet Ta'anit says that anyone that says Hashem's name in vain loses their Olam Haba. But to say the name, to say Hashem, you could say, as many times as you want, as much as you want. Because it's not only not saying his name, but it's also showing respect to Hashem, that you're honoring his name by not saying it. The Jews practice Kabbalah Kabbalah is not a practice. Kabbalah is a teaching. There's a certain segment of the Torah that is called Kabbalah. There's different teachings in Kabbalah. Some of them are, mystical, the things that are dealing with the supernatural. Some of them have to do with specific type of prayers and meditations to connect to Hashem, to understand His Torah, to open up your mind. There's different aspects of Kabbalah. So it's not a something that you practice. It's something that you learn. What is the easiest tikkun that I can do right now? Well, first, it depends if you're, if you're observant of the Torah. If you keep Shabbat, then good. Then we can work on something else. But if you don't keep Shabbat, then the first thing you should start off with is by keeping Shabbat. Take upon yourself to keep Shabbat. If you're already Torah observant and you keep all the basics, you eat kosher, you protect your brit, you keep Shabbat, then I would say learn more Torah. Make time to learn more Torah each day. So I need to know a little bit more about you in order to know what to suggest. Can a Noahide woman work at a retail store where she's required to wear a branded red shirt? Yes. Can I learn Gemara from Sefaria? I would recommend that you actually buy the Gemara instead of reading it online for two reasons. Number one, having the books is something that you can do all week long, during holidays, all the time, whereas online you could only do during the week. So that's one reason. The second thing is in regards to the website that you mentioned, Sefaria, even though they have a lot of good things in there, unfortunately, inside some of those good things are heretical things where they're very liberal and therefore they use commentary that is sometimes against the Torah, meaning that they use commentary by idol worshippers from Christianity or reformers and so on. So yes, there's a lot of good things there. They've done a great job in accumulating a lot of the the Jewish text, the teachings of the Torah in there. But for a person that does not know enough to know which one is kosher and which one is not, I would really recommend you not using it for studying purposes. For quick resources, specifically to look at the text itself, it's fine, but to study, I would say it's much better to get yourself one of these art scroll sets that gives you plenty of commentary, explanations, and everything is reliable sources, reliable teachings that has been publicly supported by Gedolei Israel, whether it's Rav Elyashiv, Rav Kanievsky, Rav Ovadia Yosef, Rav Moshe Feinstein, Rav David Feinstein. Many of Gedolei Israel were very, very supportive of Art Scrolls Gemara. So I would suggest you use that because at least you know that whatever they're writing there, it's reliable, rather than someone that sometimes uses Christians and heretics as commentary, because they're so liberal. They want to open the door to everyone, including the people that are the opposite of the truth. Can a person that's going through conversion eat matzah during Passover? If they're going through, they're actually converting, then yes, sure. What is the best Shabbat book to learn the basics from? That depends. If you are a Sephardi Jew, then I would suggest getting the Yalkut Yosef Ilchot Shabbat. It's 3 volumes. That I would say read that. If you are Ashkenazi, then there is several books that you can get with Ilchot Shabbat that are very good. Just go to the artscroll.com website, or you can go to Sepharim Center. There's different choices. If you want me to help you narrow it down, you could just send me a private message, and I'll tell you which one is best for you. I'm going through a very nasty custody battle. Is this my punishment from a former life? And should I take it or hire the best lawyers to defend me? Well, that depends. If your ex-wife or is a looking to raise the kids in a righteous way, and they're again, I'm assuming they're Jewish. She's going to take them to yeshiva. She's going to give them proper Jewish education and so on. Then you can try to get some type of middle ground that you can still see the kids, and it's certainly going to be better for them to be with their mother. Number one, the mothers have a lot more patience. Number two, just the level of commitment that mothers have for children tends to be much more significant than men. And number three, it's also going to allow you to get remarried much more easily when you don't have kids that you have to take care of. Now, on the other hand, if the mother is going to raise the kids in a way that's against the Torah, where instead of them being religious like they've been until now, they're now going to go to public schools, they're going to violate Shabbat, eat non-kosher, and so on, then throw everything that I just said into the garbage and hire the best possible lawyer you could afford, and make sure to get full custody from her, and pretty much to the point where if you could do the opposite, where she would see them once in a blue moon, that would be better rather than that. Because again, so it depends how she's going to raise the kids. Are any aliyot this weekend better than others in the week because of the 10 Commandments, or is every aliyah valued the same? Every aliyah is valued the same, and in fact, the Rambam writes that the custom that some communities have to stand when the 10 Commandments are being read is a wrong custom, because it's in essence disgraceful to the rest of the verses in the Torah. And there's no verse in the Torah that's more important than another verse. Every verse, every letter in the Torah is just important as the next, whether it's the 10 Commandments, or it's the laws of Nidah, or it's the laws of Shabbat, or it's simply saying that Ve'achot Lotan Timna, that the sister of Lotan is Timna, that's in the Torah, it's in Genesis. That's just important as the verses that's in the 10 Commandments. Why? Because everything is the word of Hashem, everything has prophecy, everything has lessons, everything has truth. So it's to respect one verse over the other is not only disgraceful, but it's forbidden, according to Halacha. So as far as aliyot, you can get any aliyot, no problem. Will Mashiach ever break a bone? If you mean, will Mashiach get hurt during the war? Well, you have two Mashiachs. You have Mashiach ben Yosef and you have Mashiach ben David. Mashiach ben Yosef is going to start the war, and if we do not have enough merits, then Mashiach ben Yosef will die. And so obviously that's much more than breaking a bone. But Mashiach ben David is given supernatural powers by Hashem, where he's not going to have to fight with hands and missiles and so on. It's beruach piv yamit rasha. He could just simply say for the enemy to die or be destroyed, and they'll be destroyed. So it's going to be a different type of. It's not really going to be a fight, put it that way. How much is the AI Rabbi? AI Rabbi is a subscription service where you can get it. You go to airabbi.org and you could subscribe if you, there's, I believe, 3 levels of subscription. If it's 50 questions per month. Another one is, I think, a couple hundred questions, and a third level is 1,000 questions. So it's different price points, but if you pay for it monthly, it's I think the lowest level I think is $15 a month. But if you pay for the whole year ahead of time, then you save about 20%. So it ends up being like $12 per month. Either way, I've seen many people use it, Baruch Hashem, and the people that actually use it, they start using it every day in their life, and many of them end up upgrading from the lowest level to higher levels because they like it so much and they use it in so many different ways, not only to answer their own questions, but to answer questions that family and friends have. And Baruch Hashem, it's a big help for their life. And another amazing thing about AI Rabbi is that it speaks to you in a language that you want. Meaning, if you speak Spanish, German, French, Chinese, Arabic, it'll write to you Hebrew, English. It'll write to you, in different languages, or even speak to you in different languages. So it's an amazing app for people to use, regardless of what language they speak and what their level is. Do you know the secret behind the Shema Yisrael? I don't really understand what you mean, the secret behind Shema Yisrael. If you mean, is there something to learn from the Shema Yisrael? Of course, there's endless teachings about the Shema Yisrael. We've taught in different lectures in the past, but the Shema Yisrael was something that was what Yaakov said to his sons, and they responded to him. They said Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, was the tribes were telling Yaakov, because he questioned whether they are idol worshippers or not. And they said Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, Hashem is one, and Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. So this was one of the ways it was used in the Torah. There's multiple teachings about it as far as what you're supposed to think when you say the Shema Yisrael. And one of the main things that the Torah tells us, the sages teach us, is that when you say the Shema Yisrael, you're in essence accepting upon yourself the Torah and the law of God. It's not just saying, okay, I'll do it, but rather you are accepting upon yourself that you are going to put your entire, all of your love towards Hashem with all of your heart, with all of your strengthen all your resources, meaning even all of your money, that in order to show your dedication to Hashem. So there is many, many different lessons that you can learn about each and every single word, different kavanot, and but again, it depends on how much time a person wants to spend into it. But there's a lot to be learned. If that's what you're referring to, then you got the answer. If you're referring to something else, then feel free to let us know. I started practicing Judaism, but my only way to become a full Jew is to marry an Ashkenazi woman. It's probably the stupidest thing I've heard today. So congratulations. If I can give you a medallion for winning today's award, you would get it. There's no obligation to marry an Ashkenazi woman or a Sephardi woman or a Yemenite woman or an Ethiopian woman. You can marry any Jewish woman that you wish to marry. If you're Jewish, you marry a Jewish woman. And there's different customs. And there's different Jews. There's Jews like myself that are Sephardi, where my ancestors lived in Libya. It's in Tripoli in Libya. There are Jews that had big communities in Italy. There's Jews that had big communities in Poland, in Russia, in Egypt, in Syria, Morocco, literally all over the world. So there's all types of Jews. To just simply narrow down all of the Jewish people to one custom is simply certainly Turkey, yes, of course. Many of Gedolei Israel came from Turkey, lived in Turkey. And to narrow down all of the Jewish people to just one custom shows that the person doesn't know what Judaism is and what the Jewish people are. Yes, of course, Iran, it's the entire story of Purim with Mordechai and Esther that's in the Tanakh is in Iran. That's Persia. Persia is Iran. Okay. What advice would you give someone that really wants to convert? Well, I would say the first thing you should do is go to our website, be'ezrathashem.org, beezrathashem.org. Over there on the top left, there is free books and PDFs, free ebooks and PDFs. Go there. In there, you could type conversion, just type conversion or conversion guide, and you'll get our conversion guide, our interactive conversion guide, and download it and start going through that conversion guide. It has a bunch of lectures that I've done about conversion, all the different aspects of it, what you need to learn, what you need to know. In the guide also, you'll have the different things that you'll need to know in order to convert, and different adjustments in your life you'll have to get based on our experience with the Beit Din and converting many people. And also in there you'll have recommended books for you to buy online or in local bookstores that you'll need to read. You don't need to necessarily buy all the books at once. If you can't afford it, you could just simply buy one book at a time, finish it, then get another book. And that conversion guide is a combination of books and lectures and writings that are going to guide you in the process of conversion until you find until you move to a Jewish community where that local rabbi is going to take you to the next step of actually converting. But the two main things that you need to focus on as far as conversion is, number one, gaining knowledge, how to be a Jew, and number two, living a Jewish life, meaning that you have to move to a Jewish community and start learning, the different things that you need to do as a Jew once you actually officially convert. So this is a process. Usually people start learning about how to be a Jew from the books and lectures well before they actually move into the Jewish community. But the point is that the sooner you move to a Jewish community, the sooner you're going to be able to convert. You're not going to be able to convert without living in a Jewish community. Don't encourage conversion? Why not? Whoever wants to be a righteous convert is more than welcome to. The Chachamim tell us that the righteous converts are the gifts that Hashem gives to Am Yisrael. And so, in fact, some of the most important people that ever lived were converts. Number one example in this week's parasha, Yitro and his whole family, which includes Moshe Rabbeinu's wife, which includes Pinchas's mother, which includes some of the most extraordinary people that ever lived, come from Yitro. And guess what? Yitro was not the last one. The wife of Yeshua ben Nun, Rachav. Yeshua ben Nun was the next leader after Moshe Rabbeinu. The wife of Yeshua ben Nun, she was also a convert. And guess what? The David HaMelech, King David, which from him comes the Mashiach, his grandmother, Ruth, she was a convert. And guess what? The two greatest leaders that we had at the time of the Zugot, Shmaya and Avtalion, both of them were converts. In fact, some Chachamim say that they were the sons of Sancheriv, who tried to destroy Yerushalayim at the time of Chizkiyahu, and obviously Hashem destroyed him and destroyed his entire army miraculously with sending Malach Gavriel to kill his millions and millions of soldiers all in an instant. And then he ran away. He had his two sons, but when his sons saw the extraordinary power of Hashem, and the foolishness of their father, Sancheriv, they killed their father, and the Gemara says that they converted to Judaism and became Shmaya and Avtalion. Some say that their descendants became Shmaya and Avtalion, but needless to say, there's a connection between the two. But they were converts. Shmaya and Avtalion were certainly converts. But the point is that you have some of the most righteous people that ever lived and today live are righteous converts. The Gaon Vilna had endless praise to a convert called Avraham ben Avraham. To this day, this tzaddik is praised for his righteousness, and he died on Kiddush Hashem when his family found out that he converted to Judaism. They burned him at the stake. And his only question to the Gaon Vilna was whether he should run to be killed, to be burned by the church, or he should just walk. Why? Because maybe it's better for him to run to the mitzvah of dying on Kiddush Hashem rather than walk. So this is how righteous Avraham ben Avraham was. So there's endless righteous converts that we've had throughout history. Certainly there are some that were wicked converts, but if you've actually dealt with converts, if you learned the subject of converts, then you would know that the Rambam paskins l'halacha that we are obligated to love converts even more than we love natural-born Jews, which means that if you're able to help somebody convert, if they're a genuine person, if they seriously wants to convert and you can help them, why not? Why not help them? Why not add more good neshamot to Am Yisrael? Do you do online conversions? There's no such thing as a legitimate online conversion. In order to convert, you have to not only live in a Jewish community, but you have to go to a Beit Din physically, be physically in front of the Beit Din, and ask questions and then dip in a mikveh. It's not something that you can do online. Anyone that tells you they do online conversions is not a legitimate conversion. Who is your favorite prophet? Moshe Rabbeinu. Is putting the Asher Yatzar posters in the washing area in the bathroom of a synagogue smart or a better spot? You put it right outside of the bathroom. So you have the bathroom door right outside of the door, or next to where people wash their hands, outside of the bathroom, not next to the toilets, because you have to put it right outside of the bathroom. But it's a very good place to put it there. Yeah. I heard that there's a relationship between the word chumash and chumashim, meaning armed. No, armed means is chamushim. Chamushim. Chamushim, that's in Parashat Ba'alotecha, that Am Yisrael came out of Egypt chamushim. They were armed, but it also means that only chamushim is 1/5, meaning 20% came out of Egypt. The rest of them died in Egypt. Why don't you believe in Jesus? Because I don't believe in man gods. I believe in what the Torah says, that there's only one God, and he has no body or the likeness of a body, and he has no image or the likeness of an image. So to say that God became a human being is against the Torah. Furthermore, the teachings in the New Testament are not only clearly man-made, full of mistakes, but they're full of foolishness too. For example, the fact that on one hand you have Christians saying that this Jesus guy became some type of man-god, but yet he cannot get the fig tree to bring fruit. So how could the Torah tell us that God created the heaven and the earth and everything in between? Nothing else exists but him. He created everything. But as a man God that the Christians created, he can't even make a fig tree bring fruit, and even worse, he curses the fig tree. Like, if it's not the season to grow figs, what are you cursing the fig tree? And if you're really God, then why don't you just make it make figs? Or why do you even have to eat if you're God? So the whole thing, the whole argument of a man God falls on his face when you actually look at the facts. And you compare the facts to what the New Testament says. You see that it's two different things. The facts are what's in the Torah. The nonsense is in the New Testament. Everything that's in the New Testament that is true is not theirs. They simply copied it from the Torah, because you'll find it in the Torah that preceded it by 1,500 years. And everything that's false is theirs. They invented. So whether it's a man God or it's that his mother was a virgin. Interestingly, she was a virgin, but yet married, and she happened to get pregnant when her husband was away. Yeah, all the adulteresses usually have the same mistake, same excuse. They all get pregnant when their husbands are away. What are you going to say? They're also giving birth to man gods? Why isn't Yeshua Mashiach mentioned in the Talmud? He's not Mashiach. Why is Talmudic Judaism all about loopholes and fooling God? It's absolutely not about that. And if you actually learned the Judaism, if you learned the Talmud, you'll not only see that it's not what you think it is, but you'll see that it's actually the opposite of that. You have a written Torah and you have an oral Torah. The main body of the oral Torah is the Talmud. And the debates in the Talmud by the sages are not because one disagrees and one agrees one is right and one is wrong. No, that's not the reason. It's rather showing you that this is the answer, and all of the other possibilities that you could ever think of are not only not the answer, but they explain to you why they're not the answer. Now, why is the answer, why is the psak so important? Because our ultimate goal in our life, as the Gemara, the Talmud, and Masechet Chagiga says, is to sanctify Kadosh Baruch Hu's name, to sanctify Hashem's name. So much so that if you did not sanctify His name today, there was no point for you to exist. So what the sages are teaching us in the Talmud is the best possible way to sanctify Hashem's name through each and every single act, through each and every single mitzvah, through each and every single relationship, through each and every single transaction. And the Talmud discusses endless topics. All 7 levels of wisdom are in the Talmud. It's not just one thing. It's not just about the laws of Shabbat or the laws of Kashrut or the laws of, Sukkah. Every type of wisdom is in the Talmud. If you want to learn about business, it's in the Talmud. You want to learn about marriage, it's in the Talmud. Parenting, it's in the Talmud. You want to learn about health, in the Talmud. Beauty, in the Talmud. Morality, in the Talmud. Everything, science, in the Talmud. Everything you could possibly imagine is in there if you know how to learn. So to say that this is just simply ways to fool God, it's literally the polar opposite, because the ultimate goal is to sanctify His name, to serve Him the best possible way, and in the process showing you why any other way that you would think logically, rationally, or based on any other type of argument is not the way. So it's not just telling you this is right because we said so, but rather this is right and this is why everything else is not. Now, sometimes there is a truth that's you have 2 different truths, meaning zeh v'zeh divrei Elokim chaim. This and this are words of the living God, meaning there's 2 perfect ways to serve Hashem through a specific deed. But in most cases, it's one specific answer, even though there are endless possibilities. And the sages teach us how to serve Hashem the best way, how to be the best possible person you can be. Why do Muslims say that the Torah has been altered over the years? What is their reasoning? The reason why the Muslims say that the Torah has been changed is because if the Torah is true as we have it, then that in itself disproves their entire belief system, because they tell people that the Akedat Yitzchak, wherein Avraham Avinu was nearly sacrificed his son Yitzchak, they say it's Ishmael. They also say that Ishmael and Avraham built that big square rock. All types of made-up beliefs. They, in so many words, we have the Torah from God, and if you compare our Torah to the Quran, you see that there's a lot of disagreements. But yet the Quran itself says that if you don't know what the truth is, go to the people of the book, they have the Torah, which means that the Quran itself says that the Torah is true. So now, if the Quran itself says that the Torah is true, and it's in essence supposedly a continuation of the Torah, that means that they must agree. And if there's a mistake, then the mistake could only be in the Quran, because not only did the Torah come before it, but the Quran itself says that the Torah is true. So what is the excuse to justify the foolishness of the Islam today? Is that, yes, the Torah is true, but it's not the version that they have. It's something else that doesn't exist anymore, or that they invented. So that's why they change it. This is also the reason why you will find debates throughout history between the Jews and the Christians, but you will not find debates between the Jews and the Muslims. The reason why is because in order for you to have a debate, there has to be something called postulates, meaning that there has to be certain things that are agreed upon by everybody. That is the basic foundation. Meaning that if you say that yours can be true and yours can be false, and mine can be true and mine can be false, then we don't have much to stand on. Meaning, it cannot be that both of us can be lying or both of us tell us the truth. Furthermore, if we agree that the Torah is true, and the Quran, let's say, or the New Testament is a continuation, that means that we all agree that under all conditions the Torah is true and the New Testament can be fake and the Quran can be fake. Or that the Torah is true and it could be that the others could also be true. But it can never be that the New Testament or Quran is true and the Torah is fake. That can never be. That's a postulate. Because again, in essence, what the New Testament and the of Christianity and the Quran of the Islam is saying is that they are a continuation of the Torah. So a postulate means that we all have to agree that the Torah is true, and it can never be that the Torah is fake and they are true. So the reason why we could have debates with the Christians is because they agree to these postulates, that the Torah can be true and the New Testament can be fake, or the Torah can be true and the New Testament can be false, could be true at the same time, meaning either both true or only the Torah is true. But in the Quran, we don't have those postulates because the Muslims are in essence saying that the Torah is fake and only the Quran is true. And there's, in so many words, we cannot have any type of debate because they don't believe that the Torah is true, that we have the true Torah anyway. So there's nothing to agree on. There's no postulates. So it's you could easily prove that the Quran is man-made, full of falsehood and mistakes. But again, those mistakes and falsehood is only proven if you look at something that everyone agrees is true. So, for example, if you agree with history, you agree with history and timing of things, then you could easily prove that the Quran is full of mistakes. One example would be is that the story of Purim, that's part of the Tanakh, that's in Megillat Esther, the main villain, his name is Haman. His name is Haman. Now, this is nearly 1,000 years after we received the Torah at Mount Sinai. We got the Torah at Mount Sinai 3,300 years ago, 3,335 years ago. Okay? The story of Purim is about 2,000 years ago, a little over 2,000 years ago, meaning there's a 1,000-year difference between the story of Purim with Haman the villain, the Hitler of his day, and Moshe Rabbeinu. Who was the main villain at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu? Pharaoh. But yet, the Quran says that Haman was friends with Pharaoh, and that Jesus was the son of Miriam, the sister of Moshe Rabbeinu. But how could that be? If Jesus lived 2,000 years ago, and Miriam already died in the desert 3,300 years ago, how could this be? So, and even the New Testament itself says that Jesus' mother was a woman named Mary. So, the Quran has all these types of mistakes that are easy to prove that it's not only not a divine book, certainly was not given by an angel, unless that angel is retarded, but it's a book that's full of mistakes. Now, the Muslims refuse to agree that the Torah is the source of truth, even though their own book says the Torah is truth. They simply say, we changed it. What proof do they have? None. In fact, there's proof to the other way. In 1948, when the modern state of Israel was permitted, in essence, to exist, Jews from all over the world emigrated to Israel. That means Jews from Yemen, Jews from Turkey, Morocco, Poland, Russia, Germany, Jews from all over the world came to Israel, and they all brought their Torah scrolls. And guess what? The Torah scroll that they had in Yemen or Morocco or Turkey, and you compare it to the Torah of the people that had it in Iran or Poland or Russia and so on, you compare them, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So these people didn't know that they existed. They weren't friends. There was no phones back then, or WhatsApp or computers. They didn't know that each other existed. In fact, many of the Ashkenazi Jews did not see Sephardi Jews throughout their entire life until they came to Israel and they saw some of the Sephardi Jews that emigrated to Israel, and some of that already were living there. In fact, that some of Gdolei Israel, some of the big Torah sages, when they heard about Chacham Ovadia, Rav Ovadia Yosef, they were flabbergasted that the Sephardi Jews have such geonim, such Torah giants. They never saw. They lived in different countries. They never saw a Sephardi Jew in their life. Needless to say, a Sephardi Torah scholar. So, but once everyone came to Israel, they brought their Torah scrolls, they brought their books, and everyone agrees. It's all the same. So this is, again, some of these Torah scrolls are well over 1,000 years old, 1,500 years old. And yet they're the same as ones that are still written today. So we have documented proof that our Torah has not changed, but the Muslims could never agree to that, because if they were to agree to it, then instantly that would destroy their entire belief system in the Quran. Do you believe that you have a homeland, or do you have to wait until Mashiach comes? Well, of course, Hashem gave us Israel in the Torah already. He never took it back. He never took it back. He never gave it to anybody else. He gave us Israel. The fact that we were kicked out, and we got punished, he didn't take the land from us. He simply allowed the enemy to persecute us. But to come back to the land of Israel is perfectly allowed. That does not mean that we agree with the heretical, atheist, Zionist government that is against the Torah, even more so than some of the anti-Semites of the world. But nonetheless, the land itself was given to us by God in the Torah, and it still belongs to us. Can anyone convert to Judaism? Sure. If you want to convert to Judaism, you can. I mean, the Torah tells us that there's certain nations like Amalek cannot convert, but we don't know who Amalek is today, and therefore anyone that wants to convert is accepted to come to convert. What did Sephardic Jews think of Ashkenazim when they came to Amsterdam? I wasn't there. I mean, I know that there's been some great relationships between Ashkenazim and Sephardim, and there's been some major wars between Ashkenazim and Sephardim, and baseless hatred. So, as far as the situation, it's case by case. I mean, unfortunately, the viewpoint of Sephardim towards Ashkenazim is much more favorable than the Ashkenazim view of Sephardim, even till this day. Not by everyone, but by many. This is a fact. This is not making it up. I mean, just, the best way to prove it is simply look at the yeshiva system. My own dear Rabbi, Rabbi Ephraim Kachlan, that was not only a genius Gaon today, verifiable and with askamot by Gdolei Israel, Rav Avadia, Rav Yitzchak Yosef, Rav David Yosef, Rav Mazuz, and many of the Gdolei Israel that wrote him askamot and amazing letters, and even say that he's a Gaon. Rav Ephraim, when he was a young boy, teenager, he was time for him to go to the next yeshiva, and he got tested, and he did great on the test, and the rabbi that was handling the administration over there says, "Listen, we would love to have you because you obviously are a Talmid Chacham and a genius, but we can't accept you because the guy that came from your school failed the test, and he was Ashkenazi, and he failed the test, and you're Sfaradi, so we can't just let just a Sfaradi in. So if you want to get in, you have to find some other Ashkenazi to bring with you." Now this is a real story, and this is a story that didn't just happen, 20-something years ago. This is a story that's happening every day now. I have friends that they won't let their Sephardi daughters or sons into yeshiva or seminary just because they're Sephardi. Just because they're Sephardi. So the baseless hatred of the Ashkenazim on the Sephardim is unfortunately much more than the Sephardim on Ashkenazim. This does not mean that all Sephardim love all Ashkenazim. It's absolutely not true. There are some that are also racist. The point is that it's baseless hatred. It's horrible, but it is what it is. Without Hashem, people do tshuva and they stop all this nonsense. I have Baruch Hashem many students that are Ashkenazim and many students that are Sfaradim and many students that are converts or want to convert. Some students that are Hasidim, Ethiopians. I have students from Africa, Nigeria. Baruch Hashem, we have students from all over the world, literally every single continent except Antarctica. We have students there that watch our shurim, that ask us questions, that donate and support. So Baruch Hashem, we have students from everywhere, and we appreciate everyone that's learning with us and supporting, and we're happy to answer everybody's questions the best we can and learn with everybody. But unfortunately, the way that I was taught by my rabbi and the way that he teaches and the way that we do things is not necessarily the same thing that other people do, because if we, B'ezrat Hashem, get the merit to open the yeshiva and to, we would accept everyone, no matter what your background is. our kollels, for example, that we have in Israel, have Sfaradim, Ashkenazim, the new kollel that we have that Rav Gavriel is running, out of his 16 avrechim that he has, I believe either 15 or all 16 of them are Ashkenazim, even though the Rosh Kollel himself is Sfaradi. But so why? Because those 16 were the ones that passed the test and that are able to meet the requirements of limud that's in the kollel. So we don't care whether you're Sfaradi, Ashkenazi. We care about whether you're committed to the Torah and you're committed to mitzvot, and that's really the way it's supposed to be. But does that mean that everyone does that? No. Unfortunately, there are people that are racist. There are people that are prejudiced. There are people that are rotten. And sometimes those people are in positions of power. What do you think of Muslims? You mean the ones that want to kill me or the ones that don't want to kill me? If it's the ones that want to kill me, I don't think very highly of them. If it's the ones that don't want to kill me, then Baruch Hashem. Salam alaikum. What's the best way to start doing tshuva? So the first thing is to make a commitment to learn Torah each day, at least watching my lectures, at least for a certain amount of time every single day, without exception. That's number one. Two is to, as you learn, you start doing. As you learn, you start doing. You learn about Netilat Yadayim, you do it. You learn about putting on tefillin, you start putting on tefillin every day. You take on yourself to keep Shabbat from now on. And little by little, as you learn, you'll do more. But there are some big mitzvot that you have to take on, right away, which is keeping Shabbat, putting on tefillin. If you are a woman, then obviously tefillin is not relevant to you, but Shabbat is. Eating kosher all the time. These are some life changes that are not really so extreme, but nonetheless, they are going to be steps that show that you're serious about doing tshuva and not one of these people that says they're doing tshuva, but in reality, they're still violating Shabbat every week for 20 years. Can you tell a nice word to my Bible group in the Netherlands? I don't know what you mean. What do you mean a nice word? You mean a story? You mean to give them a compliment? I don't know who they are. So I don't know what you mean. Why do people push the Schofield Bible? I don't even know what that is. So apparently it wasn't pushed on me. They're good people, they help the poor. Okay, it's good to do good. Baruch Hashem. People that do good will get rewarded for it. By Hashem. Are there any Iranian converts to Judaism? Sure, there's also Iranian Jews. They're not just converts. They've been, they've been living in Iran, and then some of them still live in there till this day. How did Rabbi Akiva's wife have such faith in him that she was willing to marry him when he was a nobody? Do we know what Rabbi Akiva's childhood was like? Yes. Well, she saw that he had good character traits, the way he was treating the animals, the way he was cleaning the horses, and she saw that this is a critical character trait to have to become a righteous person. And really all he's missing was knowledge. And even though he was 40 years old already and had a son, she was a young girl. She was, very, very young and never been married before. And her father was a multi-billionaire. She said, I'd rather marry somebody that's ignorant but has good character traits than marry somebody that, may have a lot of knowledge but not good character traits. And she married him and believed that as long as he agreed to go learn Torah, then she knew that eventually not only will he have knowledge, but his good character traits will improve even further. And she knew that regardless of whether she married him or she married somebody else, the obligation of a woman is to get her husband and kids to learn Torah. So either way, that was the main thing. Now, as far as his childhood, I actually did there's a film that we've done on it about the life of Rabbi Akiva, where his mother and father were very, very righteous people. His father was actually a convert, and they actually died when Rabbi Akiva was a young boy, and he was adopted by his mother's friend. And she, didn't continue raising him with Torah and mitzvot values. She got him to work, so to be able to provide. So he was very, very poor. He was lived a very, very difficult life, and there are different stories that we've said, and over the years, whether it was when he already became a Torah sage, he taught his students that when he was a young secular Jew, he used to hate the religious people because he thought that they were arrogant. And he hated the religious people so much that he wanted to bite them like a donkey, not like a dog. And they asked him, why are you like a donkey, not a dog? He says, because when a dog bites, he just bites the flesh. Whereas when a donkey bites, he breaks the bone. So I hated them so much that I wanted to bite them like that. But then once he learned Torah and he saw that these people, these religious people that are committed to Torah are not only not arrogant, but they're very, very righteous and very good people and so on. So yeah, there's many different stories about Rabbi Akiva's life. He's actually one of the sages that we have more information about him than many other sages. Been stuck in a lapse of Brit and almost feels impossible for me to quit. I tried everything. I can't seem to stop. I've been stuck with it since 12, so it's hard. What do you suggest? Go to our website, be'ezrathashem.org. In the top left, there is free books and PDFs. Go there. Then there's find something called Tikkun HaBrit Guide. Download the Tikkun HaBrit Guide. It's an interactive guide. Each page, there are pictures. You press on each picture. It gets you to a different lecture that we've done about the topic. If you go through that entire guide, it not only will help you, but it will help you succeed. And if you're serious about it, you'll succeed. Because it's constant teachings about it, different aspects of it. It'll give you constant chizuk. It'll give you a lot of education. It'll give you the proper guidance. The only way to overcome the obstacle of the psychological addiction to wasting seed and immorality is by learning enough about it to understand that it's not only bad for you, it's disgusting. And you'll actually eventually get to a point where you are repulsed by it. This does not mean that you will be repulsed by your wife or anything like that. It just means that that particular act, you'll see how it's repulsive. But again, this takes a while. Initially, you're stopping because you know it's bad. Initially, you're stopping because you don't want to get punished. But eventually, you get to a point where you realize it's much worse than that. Is there a halachic rule to declare war to the Vatican? No. Why does the Torah say that no man animal will be survived the flood, but Talmud says that Og survived? Well, that's because Og was on the Tiva. He's on top of the Og and Sichon were both of them on top of the Tiva. They made a deal with Noach. Is it possible that a person can be held accountable in heaven if they had the opportunity to convert but they did not, and could actually be punished for it? Absolutely. Not only that, the Gemara actually says that if somebody delays their conversion and they end up converting, actually succeeding in converting, they'll still get prosecuted over the fact that they delayed their conversion. What took you so long? You could have been Jewish already for, instead of only 70 years, you could have been Jewish for 71 years, for 72 years. So, yeah. Thank you for the blessings. Okay. Almost done. Do you support Zionism? Zionism is antithetical to the Torah, so absolutely not. I have many lectures about the falsehood of Zionism and how it's against the Torah. Rabbi, I'm your biggest Goy fan. Baruch Hashem. Thank you for learning with us. We have many non-Jews that become righteous Noahides and love the Torah and love to learn with us. Do you love gold? No. Why would I love gold? It's a strange question. What book do you have in front of you? This is the Chumash, the 5 books of Moses. Is cash advance asur? 100% forbidden. Cash advance is an evil business. It's against the Torah. The sages have spoken about it and against it since the time of Shlomo Melech. And anyone that wants to learn the TeShuva, we have a couple of books where the TeShuva that proves that cash advance is against the Torah. One of them is Achtov L'Yisrael, the 5th volume. And also the second one is Ochachot V'Tochachot. You could download those books from our website for free. And you could see the TeShuva if you can't find it, or if you just simply want it faster, you could just send me a text message or an email, and I could email them to you. How do you find your purpose? Purpose is to serve Hashem to the best of your ability with the abilities and talents that Hashem gave you. Meaning that certainly you have to follow what the Torah obligates all of us. So if you're Jewish, obligates you to follow the entire Torah laws that are applicable to the Jews. If you're not Jewish, then it's follow the Torah laws for non-Jews. But in addition to that, it's also find ways to sanctify Hashem through the different things that He gave you. So if He gave you a, let's say a good voice, then then you sing to Hashem, praise His name. If He gave you a lot of money, then use that money to support the Torah, to help publicize His Torah, to whether it's by supporting an organization like ours, or it's doing other big mitzvot. You could use that. If He gave you let's say you're a very social person, you know a lot of people, then use that talent to arrange Torah lectures where you bring a lot of people together and you bring a strong rabbi to help them do tshuva, to give them chizuk. So whatever talents, abilities, and resources Hashem gave you, the ultimate purpose is to use everything Hashem gave you to sanctify His name. Would you let your son fight in the IDF? My sons are going to be Torah giants, Bezrat Hashem. They're going to fight a much bigger war than a little tiny army. They're going to fight the wars of Hashem. Shtabach Shimolad. The Elef Lamate. The Moshe Rabbeinu, when he went to war, he sent 1,000 soldiers to battle. All of them had to be righteous Jews, and he had 1,000 studying Torah for them. So why? Because those that went to war needed the merit of the Torah to help them win. Why? Because Hashem decides if we're going to win, not our skill set or our weapons. So if somebody is learning Torah, then that's certainly very, very important. If somebody's not learning Torah, then if they want to go to the army, go to the army. How come a person that delayed his conversion gets prosecuted if it said that a person starts off new from what he did before converting? Because again, it's not the typical punishment. It's if a person was able to convert and they delayed it, then in essence, sure, it's not considered to them like a sin against the Torah while they're Jewish. This is in essence like a stain on their neshama, in a sense that they could have, served Hashem to a higher level because they could have done it for longer. So it's not like a sin like violating Shabbat or eating not kosher or something like that. It's just a certain level that a person can reach. Okay, we'll answer maybe one or two more questions. That's it. Why do some people that you've helped after a while become haters? We actually did a whole shiur about it. There was actually a letter written by the Maharosh, who was a big tzaddik and mezakeh rabim in the previous generation. And he actually brought the Steipler Gaon and many other Chachamim that talk about why people specifically that do Kiruv, the people that they help do tshuva, they help the most, can sometimes turn into becoming their biggest enemies. And the reason for that is because when a person helps you do tshuva, that means that they didn't just help you, they didn't just guide you, they just gave you something that you can never ever return to them. No money in the world could ever pay them back. Because if you were on the way, one-way ticket to Gehenom and not coming out, and now they put you on a path to go to Gan Eden, unless you ruin it. But the point is, they put you had a path that was for sure going to a completely disastrous life in this world, disastrous life in the next world, and they gave you a path that is giving you good in this world and the next world. That's not something that you could ever pay back. Because even if you donate a lot of money to them, even if you give them a lot of compliments, even if you, you have them walk on your back as if you're a carpet, it's still never going to pay back the amazing thing that they gave you. Now, if the person is anav, is truly a humble person, they'll be grateful to that person that helped them do tshuva for the rest of their life to no end. And they'll do everything possible to support them and help them and do everything possible to show at least gratitude. But if the person is not anav, then what ends up happening is that the reality that they can never pay back the good that was given to them actually causes them to become bitter. Causes them to become bitter, like as if it's a constant reminder that they're in debt that they can never pay back. It's a constant reminder of their past, where they used to be a horrible person that's against Hashem. It's a constant reminder of their flaws. It's a constant reminder of something that they can't do anything about, and they become more and more bitter to the point where they actually want to hurt the person that helped them the most in order to make them go away, so they don't get reminded of all of this, of their unpayable debt, of their flaws, of their lack of gratitude, and so on and so forth. So it actually becomes an obsession with hating the one that did the most for you because of that inner bitterness and ungratefulness. And unfortunately, the Chachamim tell us that a person that returns bad for good brings upon himself a curse that will never leave his house. And their prayers don't get answered anymore, and a lot of other things. But nonetheless, their obsession, to hurt the person that helped them the most, is there, and this is something that has been around since the beginning. I mean, Moshe Rabbeinu took Am Yisrael out of Egypt, and yet Korach went against them. In fact, Moshe Rabbeinu told Hashem, "Look, you're killing all these babies. Why?" Hashem says, "If you want, take one." So he took one. Who ended up being? That ended up being Micha. That ended up, throwing the mateh in, and the golden calf came from that. And then he had another golden calf years later. And Hashem saw that Hashem is about to kill all the Jews in Makat Choshech because they didn't want to leave Egypt. And Moshe Rabbeinu said to Hashem, "Oh, you're going to kill all of them?" Hashem said, "If you want, you could save a couple if you want." So he saved. Who were those two that he saved? Datan ve'Aviram, who ended up being his biggest enemies, who joined Korach to try to kill and destroy Moshe Rabbeinu. So Moshe Rabbeinu not only saved their souls, but he saved their bodies, and yet they turned him into enemy number one. They turned him into enemy number one. So if Moshe Rabbeinu had this, then needless to say, someone today that helps people do tshuva and a lot of other things is also going to have that. But it's also a good sign that you're doing the will of Hashem, and you're not doing it for your own personal interest. Because if I was doing this for my own personal interest, I could tell you for sure, I would have stopped a long time ago after seeing such ungratefulness by people. The level of ungratefulness by people is truly disgusting. You know, you have some people that literally, they get all the help they possibly can from you, and then they turn against you. Then you have some people that they literally order all the free stuff that we give, all the books, all the USBs, all the different things, literally tens of $1,000s worth of stuff, but their donations they give to a different rabbi, or they give to their local shul. And they tell you about it too. That's the worst part. That's the most absurd part. Like literally, like spiritual stupidity. But you have plenty of those. You have people that, whatever, people that do a lot of bad things. And it is what it is. It is what it is. If I was doing this for my own personal interest, the level of ungratefulness would have certainly stopped me from doing this a long, long time ago. And if not a long time ago, then it would be today. But I'm not doing this for personal. I'm doing it to help people. I'm doing it to sanctify Kadosh Baruch Hu's name. I'm doing good because it's good to do good. And anyone that thinks otherwise, try it. Go try doing what I do. Not even everything that I do. Just go try doing what I'm doing for a week. 1 week. Not even your whole life. 1 week. Do it. And let me know how it turned out for you. People think that it's a walk in the park, because what most people see is just the video. You know, they see you giving a shiur. It looks, looks easy, looks fun, looks. People don't understand what goes on behind the scenes. People don't understand the endless questions, the endless tragedies, the endless, efforts to help people despite ungratefulness, the endless insults. I literally have some people that they just they ask questions just to not listen, just to waste my time. Or some people get sent by the haters of Chabad, and they just call me to insult me, or I don't pick up the phone. They just leave messages or send text messages cursing me out. All types of stupid things. But again, if I was doing this for my own personal interest, I could assure you there are plenty of other things that I can do that would be much more profitable and certainly not as much anguish. But when you know that if you don't help these people, they're going to go to Gehenom. They're going to regret the rest of their eternity. They're going to have a miserable life. Their Father in heaven is going to lose them. And they're going to lose themselves. And a lot of other consequences. You start thinking these things, and you realize, I have to do whatever I can to help as many people as I can return to Abba, return to Avinu Shebashamayim. And if that means that I have to get some insults, let it be. If that means that I have to struggle, let it be. If that means overcome pain, let it be. Whatever it means keep going. Why? Because you're a servant of Hashem. You got to do what is the way to sanctify Hashem's name the most. But that's also why most people don't do it, because it's hard. It's hard. And what I'm telling you is not even 1%. If I told you guys 1% of really what I have to deal with on a weekly basis, literally you would think I'm insane for doing this. But again, this is not necessarily for everyone. And it's something that, Baruch Hashem, it has a lot of good in it too. When you see the turnaround stories, you see somebody that has done tshuva, you see how their life changes, you see how they build their family, you see the blessings, the miracles, you see all of this stuff. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You see how the chesed of Hashem, you see how much Hashem protects you, how much Hashem helps you. It's unbelievable. But that's the fuel. So when I get the good stories from people that they've done tshuva, that they're watching the shiurim, that they're getting stronger, that they have shlom bayit, all the good things that are happening to them, they stopped wasting seed, and as a result, they found their shidduch and made more money, whatever, all the different things that happen to people. When I get that from people, which Baruch Hashem is every day we get more, and then guess what? That's the fuel that keeps you going and overcoming all of the negative parts that you can never get used to. You can never get used to, people being ungrateful and liars and cheaters, and you can never get used to that, but you keep going. Why? Because you keep yourself busy doing good and not harping on any bad. You just keep going. Something bad happened, okay, you keep moving, keep pushing, keep pushing, and keep your neshama and mind busy, and that way you're not going to wallow in your pain and heartaches and heartbreaks that happen on a regular basis. You just keep going. It's not if you're an emotional person and you get fazed by what people say or do and what they think about you and all that stuff, you won't survive this for a week. Again, you're asking about merchant cash advance. I've answered it 50 times. Merchant cash advance is forbidden according to the Torah. Anyone that wants to learn the halachic answer, we have the books for free to download on our website, or if you want to send me a message, I can email you the books, and you can read the tshuva with your rabbi, and he can explain to you why merchant cash advance is against the Torah. Okay, I think Baruch Hashem we did good. Baruch Hashem. Okay, Rabotai. Be'ezrat Hashem, you guys will have an amazing rest of the week. Shabbat Shalom. Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the strength to learn again on Sunday before the next surgery. And Be'ezrat Hashem will give us the strength to recover fast, to have a successful surgery, and Be'ezrat Hashem get back to learning again. Also, as a brief update for anybody, if you've donated over the past year, today we sent out the donation summaries via email to everybody. So if you didn't get it, you could email me and we could send it to you again, but it was sent out to everyone, Baruch Hashem. That's one. So if you want to give that to your accountant or whatever, you got the donation summary today. Second thing is, anyone that wants to donate could donate on our website, bhtorah.org or bezrathashem.org, but also we are going to have our annual Purim campaign to help Jewish people in Israel get some food, get some mishloach manot, get some help. So there's the Machatzit Shekel, there's the Matanot Le'Evyonim that we do every year. We'll have that campaign, Be'ezrat Hashem, probably go up in the next several days, maybe a week or so. So please don't forget to donate generously to help us, help as many people as possible. And last but not least, make sure you do everything you possibly can to do as much kiruv as you can, whether it's sharing these lectures or ordering books from our kiruv store to distribute in your community. Get kiruv done. And AI Rabbi, the app, is going to get an upgrade very soon, Be'ezrat Hashem. So sign up, enjoy, and get your answers. Call to Bracha v'Hatzlacha, and Be'ezrat Hashem will learn again soon.